Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Okay, so we have a press conference now with Anna Mae Paul. She is seeking re-election for her MP seat and also looking to remain in the leadership of the Green Party. So let's listen to what Anna Mae has to say about her ideals and her reasonings for wanting to run for office and why she is part of the Green Party, of course.
Bonjour tout le monde. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. And welcome to Guelph. I want to begin today by acknowledging that Guelph is home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples, and I'm grateful to be meeting on the ancestral lands of the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabeg peoples. And also want to acknowledge that these are the Treaty 3 lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. I also want to take a moment to reaffirm the Green Party's commitment to the truth and reconciliation process. The horrific discovery of unmarked graves in British Columbia, in Saskatchewan, and likely sometime in the near future in Ontario, just is a stark reminder of the colonial past and present that exists in Canada and our commitment to dismantling colonial structures and systemic racism in our country and in our province. I'm so excited today to be welcoming leader of the Green Party of Canada, Anna Mae Paul, to Guelph. We need Anna Mae's strong, fearless voice in Ottawa. That's exactly what Canada needs. And I'll be working to help get Anna Mae elected. And I'm so excited to have her visiting Guelph today and talking about some issues that are near and dear to my heart. And one of those is addressing the housing affordability crisis in Ontario and across Canada. You know, the Green Party of Ontario, we just released a visionary paper to address the housing affordability crisis, focused on building livable, affordable communities. And the response has been fantastic, showing how we can ensure that everyone has a right to a place, an affordable place to call home. And everyone can benefit from living in wonderful, connected, affordable, sustainable communities. And we also have to acknowledge that if we're going to address the climate crisis, we have to address the housing crisis, because the false choice between tall and sprawl is actually contributing to an increasing level of greenhouse gas emissions in Ontario. And as we build more compact, connected, and affordable communities, we create great places for people to live, and we reduce climate pollution at the same time. I also want to talk a little bit about the amazing work that's happening in Guelph to address the homelessness crisis and the connection between the homelessness crisis and the opioid crisis that we're experiencing in Ontario and across Canada. The Green Party of Ontario is committed over the next decade to building 60,000 permanent supportive housing spaces with wraparound mental health and addiction supports for people in Ontario. And I'm proud to say here in Guelph, City Council recently unanimously approved a major permanent supportive housing facility, along with two other projects that puts Guelph on the path to eliminating homelessness by 2023. And one of the things that makes me so proud to be a Green is the way in which we holistically connect a variety of issues to address ways of making life more affordable and livable and better for people in our communities. So without further ado, it's my honor, it's my privilege to welcome the leader of the Green Party of Canada, Anna Mae Paul, to Guelph.
Thank you so much, Mike, for that introduction. Thank you so much for welcoming me. Merci beaucoup pour l'introduction. Merci pour l'accueil tellement chaleureux. C'est un énorme plaisir d'être ici aujourd'hui. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. So I'm so thrilled to be here. This is my first stop in Ontario now that the restrictions have lifted. I also want to acknowledge the lands that we are on and echo all that Mike has said. This moment in time is one of many crossroads that we have faced over the last number of years, the last number of weeks and days. The question always is, how will we respond? And is this the time that we will finally do what is necessary, what is needed in order to do the work towards reconciliation, to recognize nation-to-nation engagement, to respect Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination? Alors, merci d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. I also want to echo everything that Mike has said and just tell you that it sent shivers down my spine hearing him describe the Green Party of Ontario's plan for housing in Ontario and also the incredible work that is being done here in Guelph. Because he is absolutely right, things are interconnected, and the plan that Mike and the Green Party of Ontario have proposed is exactly one that recognizes that interconnectedness, and it's one that recognizes that we are at a defining moment in terms of housing, both here in Guelph, in Ontario, and across the country. The Green Party of Canada, months ago, with the leadership of our caucus, in particular our MP Paul Manley, have been pushing for the federal government to recognize the twin crises, the twin emergencies of housing affordability and homelessness. And we've been calling on the federal government to work with us and all of the other parties to ensure that people have the help that they need, because the pandemic has made an existing crisis worse. It has put more people into precarity, and we know that if we don't respond in decisive ways soon, and frankly it's overdue, that many people will be deprived of what has been recognized as a fundamental human right by our government, by Canada, which is the right to housing. And so as someone myself seeking to represent a riding that is ranked as one of the top 10 least affordable ridings in the entire country, a riding where homelessness and encampments are just simply a way of life for many of our residents in our community. I know how important the plan is that Mike is proposing, and I know how much it would mean to have a federal partner there supporting the efforts of a provincial partner. And this is where having Greens elected at all levels makes a difference. We can see what it means to Ontario just to have one Green elected. Imagine what it would mean to have more elected at both levels of government, working cooperatively together and working cooperatively with other parties on what should be a nonpartisan issue, which is the right to housing. And so this is again, it's an exciting moment for me. It's something that also reminds me of all the reasons that being Green is one of the joys of my life. Alors, le logement abordable. Le Parti vert d'Ontario vient de juste introduire un plan d'action qui est énormément ambitieux, mais aussi praticable, quelque chose que nous pouvons mettre en œuvre. C'est quelque chose où, s'il reçoit l'appui et le soutien du gouvernement fédéral, serait quelque chose d'énormes conséquences positives. Notre parti, le Parti vert du Canada, nous avons déjà fait la demande, fait l'appel au gouvernement fédéral de reconnaître le fait. Et le fait, c'est que nous avons deux crises conjointes. Nous avons la crise de logement abordable, nous avons aussi la crise des gens sans abri. Ces deux crises ont été beaucoup empirées par la pandémie. Et on sait on doit agir d'une manière urgente maintenant. Nous avons proposé que le gouvernement investisse dans le logement abordable, que le gouvernement fédéral résiste à les efforts de modifier le logement aussi, qui crée aussi un plan d'action qui reflète que le logement est un droit fondamental, c'est un droit humain qui est reconnu dans nos lois. Et finalement, comme nous avons dit depuis des mois, il y a des gens qui sont maintenant dans une situation très précaire. Ils doivent avoir accès à une prestation d'urgence pendant la pandémie, exactement parce que les locataires de faible revenu sont dans une situation d'éviction. We have said for many months, and I want to say it again because we haven't seen the action that we need, that those low-income renters who have been put into precarious situations, risking eviction, those who have not received any kind of rental support benefit during this pandemic, they need it urgently. If not, we risk a wave of evictions when the moratoriums are lifted, and they will be lifted soon. So I'm always excited to work with Mike. He is the leadership that we need here in Ontario. He is an inspiration to me and to every Green. I cannot wait to work with him. I cannot wait to canvass with him. I cannot wait for a year from now when we elect more Greens in Ontario, and I will be there with Mike every step of the way to make sure that happens. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. Thank you, Mr. Schreiner. This will now end the Facebook Live portion of the press conference. Thank you for joining us. Ceci met fin à la partie Facebook Live de la conférence de presse. Merci de nous rejoindre. We'll now begin with questions. One question, one follow-up. We will begin with questions on site, and then we will go to those joining us on Zoom. Nous allons commencer les questions, une question, un suivi. Nous allons commencer par les questions sur place, puis nous passerons à ceux qui nous rejoignent sur le Zoom.
Just want to make sure the mic is on. Thank you so much for that, Rosie. The first question from the ground today will be from Anam Khan, the reporter from Guelph Today.
I wanted to. So last time we had an election, we had a pretty close run. But like this time, like, what do you think? Do we have a chance?
Okay, and you mean federally?
Yes, federally.
Okay, we have all the chances in the world. First of all, every time Mike steps out his door, every time he stands up in Parliament, every time he proposes something or does a press conference, he shows people in Guelph what it means to have a Green representing them. And they can't help, I mean, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think that we can just say that he has demonstrated the kind of real representation that you get. When Greens get elected, they stay elected. There has never been a Green to lose a seat provincially or federally. And it's exactly because we always put our communities first. Those are the people who elected us. Our first connection always needs to be with the people who elected us. That's our primary responsibility. And so Mike has demonstrated that. He's shown them what, people across Guelph, what it could mean for them to be represented by a Green federally as well. And so, our internal polling shows that we are doing very well. And a lot of that, of course, is thanks to Mike. And so this is a seat that we're running in to win absolutely in the next election. And we believe absolutely that we can.
Okay, another one.
One follow-up.
Okay, last time that Elizabeth May came, she always said that she felt that it was like a Green base. She always felt. Did you feel the same way? And like, what stands out to you about Guelph?
Well, absolutely. And, for me, one of the reasons that I chose to run in Ontario was that I knew that there was something special going on here. The work that Mike and the Green Party of Ontario have done since the last election has been just outstanding. It has helped us to grow many Greens who are federal Greens or also provincial Greens. And so I wanted to contribute to that. I wanted to be here so that we could grow the party during the federal election, so that could help Greens in the provincial election. And certainly if you're looking for the ground base for the Green movement in Ontario, it is absolutely here. Not just because Mike is here, but because, look around you. Listen to what Mike said about housing in the community and the plans for tackling homelessness in Guelph. This is a place where Green values shine all the time. It's a place where people feel very much that the environment, the climate, completing our social safety net, reconciliation, justice. These are words that are just, they're part of the common language here in Guelph. And so it's very natural that this would be a place that would respond to the Green Party and elect the first Green in Ontario.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our second question live from the ground today is from Adam Donaldson from Guelph Politico.
Thank you. I have kind of one purely political question and something more substantive. So I'll start with the political one to warm up. Are you considering this a pre-election tour? like a pre-federal election for this fall? Like you're warming up this summer? Would you characterize it that way?
This is a freedom tour, okay? For me and for all of us. Hey, I mean, come on, you know? I mean, that is what it is. I have been waiting so long to be able to do this. I was elected in October. There was a tiny, not even then, because there was the second wave actually at that time. There's been tiny windows here and there, but in general, we have all been on lockdown. We've all been on restrictions. They've been amongst the toughest here in Ontario. Of course, I respect them. I respected them to the T. And so for me, I have been waiting a long time to connect personally with people. There's nothing that replaces that, just the warmth of human connection. And so that's what this is about. I want people to get to know me. You know, I'm here to start a conversation. I've tried as best as I can on Zoom, but of course, this is going to be better, and it's obviously much more special. So yes, this is something that was inevitable as soon as I was able to do it, and I'm so excited that the first place that I got to do it properly was here in Guelph.
So in terms of like the issues, you know, when we're talking about homelessness, affordability, jobs, mental health, the opioid crisis, like all of these things are connected in some way. Do you worry that, you know, kind of breaking it down, like on that level, we miss kind of the bigger issue, which is just like improving people's lives? Like, and how do you circle that?
Well, we always, as Greens, as Mike said, we have always recognized the interconnectedness of things. You know, this is always when we design our platforms, whatever the issue we're talking about, we're always trying to get that bigger picture in focus for people so that they understand. And I believe that the pandemic has done that like nothing else. It has really emphasized how connected issues are, how all connected we all are. And I think that can only help them understand our approach toward policy. And so when we do, as Mike just did, you know, when we were talking about housing, of course, we're also going to talk about how it impacts mental health, you know, how it impacts health in general, how it, you know, there are particular marginalized groups that are particularly impacted. So when you see our platform for the next election, that is something we're going to be emphasizing. There has never been a better moment for us to complete our social safety net, to finish that unfinished business. We have seen what the cost is of not having a complete social safety net in the pandemic. And so people in Canada, I think, are really determined and energized around the idea that we can actually do that and make sure that everyone can live in dignity. So I believe that holistic approach has never had a better moment to really connect with people in Canada, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Rosie, over to you for our online questions.
Yes, okay, we're going to start the online questions with Steve Paikin from TVO. Go ahead, Steve, please.
Thanks very much, Rosie, and hello, Enemy, hello, Mike. I think it's fair to say that the tradition in Canadian politics is that the public tends not to listen to what party leaders have to say on policy unless they can convey that they've got their internal party situation in order. So my question is, do you have your internal party situation in order? You guys hearing me?
Sorry, Ms. Pearl, do you hear Steve Paikin's question? We've lost audio.
Yeah, did you hear the question? Because I can't hear any.
Yes, I heard the question, but we seem to have lost audio on the ground. I'll check
Okay.
with Victoria just a sec.
Thanks, Rosie.
Okay, we're good to go now. Thank you.
I've heard the question. So just in terms of that, and we're doing this outside, so apologize if there's any little glitches. Just in terms of your question, first I would say, Steve, that if the standard was that every political party had to have their house completely in order before doing anything, then we would have a permanent paralysis in Canadian politics. That is a very high bar, particularly when you think about how motivated members are, how opinionated they are, as they well should be, and how parties have a responsibility to foster a variety of opinions, a variety of differences of approaches to public policy, because that's how you make good public policy. So in the case of our party, there is no question that the events of the last few weeks have been a test, they've been a trial, but we are extremely determined to enter the next election strong, unified. I'm going to be touring as much as I can to help support our candidates. They're very excited to be running for us. And so, yes, parties will always be tested. And the question is, how resilient are you? How quick can you rebound? How quick can you reunify? And we're really determined to do that. And at the same time, make sure that we leave space so that we can have those differences of opinions. We shouldn't be looking for just one voice to overwhelm all the others. That also is part of Green values, and we're very committed to that as well.
And as a follow-up, I must confess that when I saw that you were going to Guelph, I did wonder whether you were rethinking the move to Toronto Centre and intending to run in Guelph instead. Is Toronto Centre still a done deal?
Standing here in this breeze on the, I think anyone would consider this, but no, in all seriousness, I am extremely committed to Toronto Centre. This is a place where, if you're looking for my origin story, it's there. My mother began her teaching career there. My grandmother worked in the hospitals there. I was born there in that riding, and all of the things that Mike was mentioning, all of the things related to housing and homelessness, affordability, mental health, the opioid crisis, all of those things are absolutely overwhelming this incredibly resilient community who has done so much for itself and continues to do so much for itself. So I am absolutely committed to running in Toronto Centre. I absolutely believe that Greens can win that seat. We did so well with just 3 weeks. We went from 7% to 33% in 3 weeks with an only virtual campaign. Remember, there was no ability to do any door-to-door canvassing, all that kind of usual retail politics. So absolutely, I'm committed. I know that Mike will join me and do some canvassing with me, and I'll be here for sure supporting whoever runs for the Green Party in Guelph.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Mike has something to say as well.
Oh, just a second. Sorry.
Just wanted to say that when I ran in Guelph the first time and did well but not successful, a lot of people said, can a Green ever get elected in Ontario? And I persistently worked at it and was elected in 2018. And I can tell you, before Elizabeth May was elected, it was always said, can a Green ever be elected in Canada? And the answer was no until the answer was yes. And I would say the same thing is the same for Toronto Centre. A lot of people say, can a Green be elected in Toronto Centre? And the answer will be yes when it happens in the next federal election.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Schreiner. Next question is from Natasha Bulowski, National Observer. Go ahead, Natasha. One question, one follow-up, please.
Hi, Annemie. Thank you so much for taking all of our questions today. I'm asking today about Minister Catherine McKenna's formal announcement that she will not be running for re-election. I'd like to know what you think of her decision and her impact on Canada's climate policy.
Well, I learned the news yesterday, and
Sorry, lost the audio.
Is not
Sorry, Rosie, I think I can't.
on you, your family, and I think that we can all agree that the toll that Ms. McKenna faced during her years was higher than most have had to. And so I want to thank her for her service, her commitment, for bringing all of her talents to the role of being a member of Parliament and being a minister, and to wish her well in the future. In terms of climate policy, she's been
Sorry, we seem to have lost him again. I've just sent a message.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know how we...
No, we still can't hear Ms. Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Cannot, so I don't know where I left off, but I would say that in terms of, I wish Ms. McKenna well, and in terms of the climate policies of the Liberal government, those cannot solely be dropped at her feet. There was an extraordinary chance over the last number of months to do what we had not done before, which was to ensure that we set a target that corresponded to the science, to ensure that we had a Climate Accountability Act that actually made sure that we had accountability, to set a carbon budget, to be ambitious about our plans with the United States as well. And we have missed all of those opportunities over the last 6 months. All of those things have passed us by while all of our international partners are doing that work. So the federal government as a whole and the cabinet and the prime minister, they all have some explaining to Canadians to do. The Green Party has a very ambitious plan at every level of government. We believe that people in Canada want us to be ambitious, and also at the same time, it's a practical, doable plan. And those are the characteristics of every Green plan: ambition, daring, but also doable. That's really what we're all about.
Thank you. And sorry, before I ask my follow-up, would I be able to ask you to just repeat the first couple sentences you said about just the decision that she made? I got everything up until after.
Absolutely. About the decision that she made?
Yeah, just her decision.
I'll just repeat it again. So, and again, sorry for the technical glitches. So Ms. McKenna, I thank her for her service. It is always something to be grateful for when any talented person in Canada steps up to the plate to serve as a member of parliament, as an elected official. You pay a price for that. Your family pays a price for that. There are many elements, as she acknowledged, that are just not that fun. And so I really want to thank her for having done that. I also acknowledge that Ms. McKenna, over her years, has been subject to much more vitriol than most politicians, and that's a very high bar. And so I want to recognize that as well, and just wish her well in what comes next, and just hope that, you know, for the next woman or the next politician in general that chooses to stand up and put their name forward to be elected and serve in that role, that it is easier, that it is more respectful, and that the culture of politics can change to make sure that we don't lose out on the talent of people who might consider running.
Thank you. And my follow-up is in a similar vein. McKenna also mentioned the importance of women, Indigenous peoples, LGBTQ2S+ people, Black Canadians, and immigrants running for office. To you, what is the impact or importance of having that greater diversity in politics, and how can the mistreatment of these groups in politics be addressed?
Well, it means everything to have those groups running in Canadian politics. We know that diversity. And again, we've heard it, but it's important to live it. Diversity is one of our greatest strengths. We have done an excellent job of attracting the most talented people from all over the world and for generations. And so having that diversity, but not fully accessing it, particularly at a time like this where we need access to the best ideas, is really doing us all a disservice. We also know that when diverse people aren't involved in politics, that they become, as anyone would, disengaged, disaffected, and that's something that compromises the quality of our democracy. And then there's lots of evidence, lots of studies, lots of research here and abroad that confirms definitively that when you have a diverse group of perspectives in national assemblies, that the quality of public policy is improved, that the policies are more sustainable, they have less unintended consequences, and so that's what we should be moving toward. The fact is that the barriers still exist. The barriers that existed when I founded an institute to tackle exactly this issue are still there. It is still hard for members of equity-seeking groups to raise money. Still hard to collect the human resources that you need to run successfully. And then when you get in, you face a whole other set of barriers. And I'm thinking about Selena's quote from the other day, Selena Cesar Chavez, where she said that the system tries to grind you away. That is the experience of many marginalized groups, many equity-seeking groups in politics. And if we want to benefit from their contribution, then we have to make sure that the system doesn't grind them away and that there is a space for them in politics. Every single party has a responsibility to do that. I have a responsibility to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. Thank you, Natasha. Next question is Ian Sheriff from iPolitics. Go ahead, Ian, please. Ian?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Enemy. Thanks so much for taking my questions today. So I wonder, just given how substantial Mike's affordable housing plan is, how central will housing be to the federal Green campaign platform when we enter a federal election?
It will be extremely important. You simply, our doable ambition is to propose a series of measures that, taken together, will ensure that every person in Canada can live in dignity from their first day to their last day. There is no possibility of achieving that objective without ensuring that every person in Canada has access to safe, secure, affordable housing. It is simply not possible. And so I love, Mike does a lot of the work for me with his housing plans. I mean, they're fantastic. And certainly, seeing how we as a federal party can be reinforcing the great plans of our provincial counterparts is very important to us. Housing is a shared responsibility. There is a National Housing Act, and so the federal government has recognized its responsibility. And so, yes, you can expect, as we did in this last sitting of Parliament, in this session of Parliament, you can expect us to be proposing concrete solutions to make housing more affordable, more accessible. We did a lot. We had petitions, we had letters, we had online campaigns. We have been very clear that it has to be a central piece of any credible platform for taking care of people in Canada.
Great, thanks so much for that. And then this is a question for both you, Enemy, and Mike. So what can the federal and provincial Greens do together on the housing file? Do you have any further plans to jointly pitch, strategies for housing?
Mike?
Yeah, well, first of all, housing is a complex issue, and it's going to require all three levels of government to work together. And that's something Greens do really well. Collaborate across party lines and collaborate across jurisdictional lines to get things done to improve people's lives. And so where the federal government can really step up is to provide the funding we need for a national housing strategy to get government back in the game of housing. The affordability crisis in housing really started to accelerate in the 1990s when both the federal and provincial governments pulled out of housing. And the fact that both the Green Party of Canada and the Green Party of Ontario are committed, ambitious, comprehensive, and yet doable in delivering solutions to the housing crisis gives me a lot of hope and a lot of optimism for the future.
Yes, I could have said it better. It is when I think about what we could accomplish together, with more Greens elected provincially and more Greens elected federally, it's something that excites me, and it really should excite everyone in Canada. Our culture within our party is one where we do seek to collaborate and cooperate. We also believe in that across party lines. There's some things which, again, they just transcend party politics, and they always have and they always should. One of those things is access to safe, secure, affordable housing. This is something that we will proactively seek to work with the other parties on. We will proactively seek to work with the other levels of government on. And so, this is just in our DNA. When you elect Greens at whatever level, you're electing someone who puts their community first, puts their needs first, and is going to work with anyone who is willing to work with them in order to make sure that that the community, theirs and writ large, has what they need.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. Thank you, Ian. We have a question from Ian Bailey from the Globe and Mail. Ian, can you hear me? Okay, we don't have Ian Bailey. Does anybody else have a question? Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? If you want to use the raised hand feature, s'il vous plaît, utilisez lever la main. No? Okay, I don't think we have any more questions now. So thank you, Ms. Paul, and thank you, Mr. Schreiner. This concludes today's press conference. Ceci conclut la conférence de presse d'aujourd'hui.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. And yeah, merci beaucoup. Bonne journée.
Thank you for listening today, and thank you for supporting us with our sponsors. Please go to depictions.media for more information and click on our contact link and let us know how we can help. How we can help bring your story and help bring us to a better world. This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.